What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of NJ Healthy Heat, the podcast. When you're listening to this, it's probably right around Christmas as well. So happy holidays to every single person out there. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and click that follow button. This is a podcast that I do just for you guys. This is no paid. I'm not getting paid to do this. The coaches aren't getting paid to do this. We do this completely out of the love of the game for baseball, and we want to bring you as much information as possible. So by you hitting that follow button, it just grows the channel, gets it out to more people. So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Before we get into today's guest, today's sponsor is Mark Pro. I used Mark Pro throughout my entire career. I really started to use it more and more once I had Tommy John surgery. It was a part of our rehab protocol. It's a great tool that I use with a lot of my athletes now today. If you use code NJHH10, you're going to get 10% off a Mark Pro. It's a really, really great gift for your athlete who is in high school, or if your athlete's in college. It's probably a great tool to have in their kit. So without further ado, let's get right into today's guest. I mean, this is a guy who knows a thing or two about baseball, knows a thing or two about winning games, knows pitching. Seems like he knows a little bit of infield, head coach. So he's got kind of a idea of how the game works on so many different levels. I'm super excited to get into his career and where he's at now as the BYU pitching coach. But he's also stopped along as a head coach at the NAIA. He's been at JUCO. He recently came off of a stint with the New York Yankees and their organization. And now he's in a Power Four. So he's seen the game from every level that you could possibly be at, and he's going to drop a ton of knowledge. So if you're an athlete listening to this, get some pen and paper out. If you're a parent, make sure you're taking notes as well. There's going to be a lot of good information in here. Hope I didn't pump you up too much. So, you got a lot to deliver on today for us.
We'll see how it goes, man. Obviously, I hope I could drop some knowledge and somebody could take something from it.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So before we get into like everything baseball related, what do people need to know about you, Adrian Dinkel, to understand like how you operate as a coach in the game of baseball?
Yeah, man. First thing to know about me is first I'm a father and a husband, right? That's my identity. What I do for a living to support those around me is I coach baseball. But I would say that for me, man, being uncommon, I'm not afraid to be a little bit different. And so I think that as I've continued to be out throughout my career, I think what's helped make some of our programs successful was just being completely different than a lot of people and kind of diving in different routes.
Yeah, definitely. And being a father, you were actually just telling me that you're moving out to BYU. I think your family's over in the East Coast. How's that going for you? How's being away from your family for so long? How's that been on just like the mental grind of the baseball world?
It's been stressful. Remember, my family's still here in Florida. I'm in Florida now, but came back to pack them up and get the house on the market. We're renting it, and then heading out to Utah, man. But my wife's been unbelievably supportive. Basically held down both kids, and they're 13 and 10, almost 14 and 11, and so she's just been a saint, grinding them all over. But man, I work for unbelievable people at BYU that have allowed me to make sure I come see them back and forth, and so Trent's been unbelievable, my staff. So it's been about as least stressful as it could possibly be in a stressful world.
Definitely. So what, you were just away for like one semester, just the first semester.
So this fall, so yeah, back and forth. They came out, I came back in here, but obviously, man, the goal was to get out there and get things right with the pitching side at BYU, and that was the frame. So it kind of worked itself out, man. Like I kind of was able to deep dive into what we were doing there while they finished some stuff up here.
Definitely. So, transitioning into the BYU and your stuff there, how's that been going? I mean, first year as the pitching coach there, coming off of being a head coach for 8 years. What's that transition been like from head coach to now just working on one part of the game instead of overseeing everything?
It's been great when you work for the right guy, right? And so the guy I work for has been unbelievable. He's allowed me to do my job at a high level and been very supportive. And so, dude, I love it. I mean, I really do love it. I love just kind of deep diving in. I have a passion for player development, and this has kind of just put me in that niche of being able to create those systems and really just focus on that one thing without having to deal with everything else that Trent has to. So I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful to be on this side of it for right now.
Definitely. Yeah, just for right now. So my question is like, in the coaching career, you kind of start to get a name as like a head coach, and then you kind of take a step back. I wouldn't even say a step back, but just a pivot in your career to go pitching coach. Is there still, itch to be a head coach down the line, or are you starting to focus more on just becoming like a predominant pitching coach? I know you're going to say like I'm focused on the team right now, but in your best overall kind of vision, what are you thinking there?
Very rarely will you get generic answers out of me. I'm pretty black and
Okay.
white. No, man, I simply, man, I'm just gonna let my path take me where it takes me, right? I
Yeah.
enjoy being a pitching coach and an assistant coach right now. I'm having a blast doing it, right? And so I've kind of lived my career that way a little bit, man, that I'm gonna hammer what I have to do in front of me, and whatever happens, happens. And so if I'm a pitching coach, an infield coach, assistant coach the rest of my life, cool, I'm good with it. I just want to make whatever's around me better. And the situation I'm in right now is unbelievable. So I'm not going to really look outside of that as of right now.
Gotcha. And then your role within the Yankees, what was that? If you could just touch on that, were you a full time manager?
Yeah. So I was a
Yeah.
minor league manager, but I also was in charge of infield defense and base running, obviously with
Yeah, I saw
the
that.
direction
I
of
was,
our coordinators. Yeah.
yeah,
So, they gave me a lot there. Obviously, so when coordinators were out, and I was at the complex. I was running, a lot of the infield defense and a lot of the base running, obviously, that you're still kind of following that standard of the model that the Yankees said and your coordinator said with Ryan Chipka and Ryan Hunt and Dan Ferruto that's now with the big leagues. But that was my job. So yeah, manager was my title, man. I was more in leadership. I've been in leadership, and so that's where we're at.
definitely. And then you as a player, I couldn't find too much on you as a player. What was your
I'm
career
old.
like?
I was a stock white righty, man. So I went to college as a two-way guy, pitched and played shortstop. Kind of did that for
Let's
a couple
go.
years. Played junior college baseball. Did that for a couple years, and then finished out as a pitcher. Played junior college. I claimed Bethany College in NAI school in Kansas. I played my last year there. I graduated from there. But that's who I was, man. I was just an average player.
Love it though. We got that in common. Pitcher, shortstop, kind of mixed there. So
Yeah,
love that. And so now I understand a little bit more about how you're, teaching infield, base running, as well as that. Then going on to the pitching side. It's a unique world where you get to kind of have both perspectives, right? I think a lot of kids get uh, either they're a position player or they're a pitcher in high school, and then like that's their career. And then they don't get to see the game at a higher level from either side, so they're never getting that mindset of like what it's like to stand in a box in college, facing some guys, or vice versa, standing on the mound. And so when you get both perspectives, it obviously makes you a bigger weapon, I think, as a coach, because you can
sure.
really speak to each player's individual experience and say like, hey, this is what I went through, and you're able to relate to them. And now you're able to be a head coach, right, and relate to both sides of the ball. I think a lot of coaches are like either one, they're pitching dominant, or infield, position dominant. But to be both is very unique.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Definitely. So, you've been at NAIA, you've been at JUCO ball, you've been now in the Power Four, and you've been in professional baseball. Along the journey, what has helped you the most as a coach? Get to the point that you're at now, and be as successful as you are within the game.
I would say that the high standards, for me, high standards aren't motivational. They're operational for me. And so I think being held to a high standard, working for people that had a high standard, and putting myself in a situation that continued to live out being a high standard, accountable and consistent, mattered the most in those programs. I think following that course kind of has allowed for a lot of success because I've put myself around a lot of people that know how to be successful.
Definitely. And so, in your early career by yourself as a player, was that something that you had early on, or was that something that maybe had to be developed the moment that you kind of became a coach and you're like, man, I got to get my life together? I could see that being for some players and kids who are getting into the coaching realm, where it's like, playing was fun and things, but in order to have success as a coach, you have to be well respected, you have to be on time, you have to be very put together, and that's where I feel like some people can you know get a little bit more refined, whereas some people come built like that all the way through their whole playing career. So where were you at in that kind of bucket?
I think the work ethic was always there. I'm a little. I'm an inner city kid
Okay.
that didn't come from a lot. That kind of had to figure out a lot of stuff, and so for me, it was. I knew I had to be uncommon to be great, and so how I got there, I knew I was gonna have to work my way through a lot of different things. Right, man. You see my career start from the NAI to junior
Yeah.
college baseball, and I just kind of had to climb. There wasn't a lot of people that were handing stuff to me. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are like that, and some of the best coaches I've been around are like that. But for me, I knew it just had to be put my head down and work as hard as I possibly could, and take direction and understand direction, but also think for myself a little bit, and bring value everywhere I've been. And most people respect work ethics, so it
Yeah.
was work hard and make things better.
Definitely. And you've got two national titles. You've got 70 plus players that you've gotten to the pros. You've coached some national players of the year, pitchers of the year as well. But prior to the success, what did the early days of coaching look like for you? What was that journey like to get from fresh out of college and on your first career? Was your first job at a school coaching, or did you do
Yeah,
anything else?
it was at the first one that I
Yeah, so you went straight to
paid.
coaching.
I went, yep, yep,
Yep.
yep. I went straight to coaching at Bethany College right after playing.
And so what
So,
was that like for you to kind of get those wheels turning and going and seeing a little bit of baseball on the other side of playing?
it was one of those things. I played with a lot of those guys. And next thing you know, I was coaching them the next year. But I
Yeah.
was around the right people. And so that staff that I was with around that time was a guy named Matt Trammell that kind of a little bit of a coaching tree and guys he's coached between like me and at that staff. It was like me and Mike Silva, which is the head coach at Arkansas State. He was another assistant at the time. And so able to be around guys like him. And then, I mean, Matt coached guys like Josh Simpson, what's at LSU now. And so I worked for the right guy, man, that kind of just put a lot on your plate, but kind of taught you how to do it. And so I was very fortunate enough to kind of get thrown to the wolves, but had a really great leader showing me how to do it.
Gotcha. And so where did I'm curious for like your own interest levels coming from, the position player background and the pitching background. Like where was your initial interest when you got into coaching? Where were you going to think that you were going to have, a big part of player development? More on the pitching or more on the position player side?
More systems oriented. I still am.
Systems. Okay.
Yeah, I'm more of a systems oriented guy. I'm still a big believer that we're a little bit short on teaching people how to coach people. You got to be able to tell that story. You got to be able to have that conversation with those guys.
Yeah.
You got to be able to have that information and give that information. But that was kind of where I was. I mean, when I first came out, I fell into as a pitching guy. So I've been a pitching guy. I've been a hitting guy. I've kind of done everything. So I wouldn't say my passion was one or the other. My passion was developing people and developing, you know, each one of those. I feel like I got pretty good in the pitching category or the infield category, because I'm going to dive in and be good at it. But like, you can coordinate your way through things. So it wasn't one or the other, but I was originally a pitching guy.
Okay, and when you say systems, can you like I don't necessarily know, I guess what you mean. Like you're talking about coming in and developing like full on practice plans, fall
Yeah.
plans, like that's all you
Yeah.
wanted to know is like every time a kid came to the field, they knew exactly what they
Yeah.
were doing.
Yeah, man, very system oriented, right? And so how efficient can we be? How efficient can our days be? And when I say systems, it's outside of that. How well can we communicate our plan and our idea, right? Like, so I may have an idea of what we're looking for pitching wise when you say system wise, right? This is under the umbrella of, hey man, right now we're working on a ton in our program at BYU on maybe making our stuff nastier inside the strike zone, right? How we get there is through some seam orientation stuff, right? But the system still has to be like, hey, here's how we're going to streamline it, how good we're going to be at it, and how well can we communicate it with everybody inside the building.
Yeah.
So it's all hands on deck. So when you say it's more systems oriented, man, it's just like, how do we communicate? How do we get all departments together? That's always been my factor, but obviously in this coaching world, you still have to streamline one, and so it's been pitching and I've done infielding, but yeah, so systems matter, man, making sure we get it right.
Definitely. And so, where did you go to get your knowledge for everything? Obviously, playing experience is going to be huge. Being around the right people. But outside of that, what were you looking at as a young coach to maybe get better at infield? Teaching better at systems, better at pitching. Where were you going? YouTube at the time, Google, like books. What were you
Well,
getting
we didn't
on?
have all that back then. Actually, asking a lot of questions, being curious. So for me, it was, I just always believed there wasn't just one right way, but I wanted to make sure I understood what we were solving for. Like, what are we solving for today? Like, whether it's the swing plane, our contact quality, our pitch design, our pre-pitch, what are we looking for? I always wanted to figure out what exactly we're solving for and why. And so it was a lot of information, not afraid to ask those questions. And so I've met a lot of really good friends along the way by asking those questions. And so you say, where did I go, man? It was just it's everywhere. It's a lot of people, and not being afraid to be humble enough to ask the questions and know when I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, more of that, more question asking. I think the world of baseball is in a weird spot, especially with social media and how everybody's got their own opinions and they're not willing. I talk about that a lot on my podcast where I feel like there's not a lot on the social media side where people are willing to just say like, what are you doing and why? It's all here's what I do and like if you don't really do it this way, then, kick rocks almost. It seems like
Well,
like
that's yeah.
whatever.
And there's a lot of people in college baseball, and and we all have that in us, right? And because we're passionate about what we're teaching and how we're teaching it, right? And so that's in professional baseball to college baseball to high school baseball, but it's just got to be willing enough to know that you're never going to have it all figured out.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to the pitching side, let's talk a little bit pitching here. You've had a ton of success working with high level pitchers. You've had a ton of success working with pitchers who have gone on to have professional careers. When you look across the board on the kids who have had success over your coaching career, what are some things that these kids have in common that maybe the average Joe doesn't know, right? You're going to say, maybe some velocity, maybe some stuff. All of that is good and well, but you're shaking your head no. Like, what are some things that these guys have in common that maybe aren't those two, factors that I think most people think in order to be good, I have to throw hard, I have to have good stuff. But we both know it goes well beyond that to have success, especially for a long time and also at a very high level.
Yeah, man, I would say that that is not only player but coach driven and person driven. I think a lot of those guys that I see a common thing would be like intentional greatness. When they
Hmm.
expect to be great and they're not afraid of the day to day and the mundane of dominating the routine every single day, right? And so they understand that quick fixes aren't going to come, and they're intentionally great about being good about where they're at and being really good at solving for that day or solving for that bullpen or solving for that batting practice or solving for that daily defensive routine. And so they embrace the day to day and they take pride in doing the little things right and winning at the end of the day.
And so the little things it can get super boring, doing your bands, doing your arm care, doing the weight room all over just again and
Hmm.
again and again. It can sometimes feel like you're just banging your head into the wall. Your velo's not going up, your command's not getting any better, but you're supposed to trust the process like everybody else. How do you stay or how are you coaching these kids through to stay motivated and really zoom out and focus on the big picture, not so much on like, here's what's happening right here, right now, but also still staying in that same vein of like we have to make sure that the day to day is taken care of as as diligent and as focused as possible because it will ultimately still impact that big picture. So how do you go about coaching that, I guess, mindset to your players?
I think it's that constant communication, and I said a lot of feedback loops, and being prepared and showing what they're doing is working. And I think a lot of people nowadays just want to be like, "Hey, man, look, it works quickly," or they'll pick out their one good player that it worked with instead of a whole team or a whole pitching staff, right? It's having those conversations, but being prepared to show the information, um, and not being afraid to sit down in the weeds and explain to them, "Hey, man, we might be here, but this is where it's going to lead," and just being open and honest and being truthful about where they are, but continue to motivate and show them where it can be and what they can do. And at the end of the day, do make it fun and make it
Yeah.
enjoyable. And that's it, dude. So if they show up every day miserable and you aren't making it fun, it doesn't matter. And so, like, make it fun, make it creative, have constraints, but all while still focusing on these little things need to get us here.
Do y'all do mental training for your pitchers over there at BYU?
Yeah, so we're
What do you
actually
guys do?
very, 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 yeah, we do. So we're very lucky in our building. Obviously, manpower for you got mental skills coaches, mental training. You got the
Hmm.
departments, but we also have on staff with one of our assistant coaches, Adam Law, which is does a really, really good job. He's got a background in it. He worked with the Dodgers
Oh,
and
nice.
the mental training. Yep. So
They're pretty
we'll
good.
have.
Yeah.
He's great, man. Yeah. So
I was saying
he
the
crushes
Dodgers.
that.
Dodgers are pretty good. They know
Yeah.
they know a
Yeah.
thing or two about baseball and
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah, we're very blessed, man. And so, we'll have our mental Mondays and he'll sit down and crush them, but he'll just individually take those guys as well as I'll have those conversations. But, that I think that's a big piece of what we're doing. But, we're very lucky to have the resources in place.
And what are y'all talking about in these mental Mondays? If you're allowed to kind of dive in a little bit deeper on, what you guys are kind of preparing your pitchers for, whether it's like confidence, whether it's visualizing, your worst outing and understanding how you can get out of that. Like, what are you guys talking about in these mental
It,
preparations?
Dude, I think that's the conversation would be like it's more probably team oriented. It individually would be at the end of the day is just making sure they understand what level they need to play at. Something that I've had a belief in for a long time. You get a lot of guys, man. If you're at a scale of a 1 to 10, like 10 is like, dude, we're at a mosh pit and I'm just dropping elbows into dudes' eyeballs.
Yeah.
Or 0, I'm just sleeping, right? And 5 is kind of that even kill. Like we're trying to teach our guys their pillars of, hey man, if you're a 6 and you perform best at a 6, let's find a way to get you to a 6. But here's our building blocks of how we get there. And so, whether that's through your routine, your day to day, the communication, but it's just our ultimate goal through that mental training and we're doing is to make sure that we get the best of you on game day.
Yeah. And when it comes to routines, how are you going about helping guys find routines? I think everybody talks about, getting into your routine, find your
Yep.
routine, become, almost like a slave to your routine. But how do you find that routine that works best for you? And also, how do you do it at scale with how many guys you have, right? Without getting them all into the one routine and just saying like, hey, this is what we do as a team. Maybe it used to work like that, 10, 15 years ago in college baseball, but now it's a little bit more individualized. You have more data. You can understand each player on like a more granular level. So how do you help them build those routines as the pitching coach?
That is obviously the conversation of, hey, here's an idea, and you're kind of giving them a menu of what they can do and their drills, and then when they're getting down there or their routine would be, hey, when we're in our bullpens, we're going to focus on that before we deliver that pitch, right? And so, or before we throw that day's throwing program. And so it's just a constant reminder of, hey, man, stay in your routine. And there's a lot of chaos in our bullpens at times that we're going to continue to bring you back, whether we're screaming at you, we got music going, or we got you running, getting the heart rate up. We're competing in a game of tic-tac-toe. We're going to continue to make sure that you come back and you hammer that routine and you clear it and you drive home what you're trying to do.
Yep. Nice. So where would you, if you're talking to a high school kid right now who's getting into his routine, developing a routine for the first time, what's something that maybe you would suggest as far as, building it and then also sticking to it? Because I think building it is one thing and really sticking to it day in and day out, practices, you have the same routine as you do game day. I think a
Yep.
lot of the kids that I see at least the youth level, high school level, and even the college level, depending on where they're at in their own thing, they'll know what their routine is and they'll only do it maybe once a week. And then come game day, they're dialed in on it, but then it's not, something that they're doing in their daily practice, and then it doesn't become second nature. But then on the game day, they're like, "Well, I did my routine," and hoping that like that saves them. In reality, it just doesn't, and doesn't guarantee
No,
success either. And I think that's something a lot of people put too much emphasis on their routine. Is like, "Oh, if I do my routine perfectly, I'm going to have success today." And it's like, well, that's not necessarily true either.
no, I agree. I mean, I think the routine for anybody is just to put you in a place of comfort and control, right? So you can succeed at the end of the day. And how we get there is obviously be intentional about doing it. But at the end of the day, also, like if it doesn't show up on game day, like then we got to figure out if we were doing it wrong. So because at the end of the day, no matter what we're training for, whether that is pitching, making our nastiest stuff, trying to get to the game day, if it doesn't show up on game day, then where are we wrong? What do we do wrong? Because our goal is to have our best stuff on game day. And so be intentional about your routine, being intentional about your throwing, be intentional about taking your ground balls, taking your swings, and making it a focus to be routine driven and finding out what actually works for you that can get us to our optimal performance when the game starts.
Yeah.
Because, dude, if it doesn't matter, if you don't perform on game day, then what was it all for?
How long do you think somebody like, let's say that you have a routine, you're dialed in, like, and then things start to go a little left and they keep going left? How long until you really sit with that routine and say like, is this helping me, without trying to switch up your routine too much, right? Because there's guys who play and like if their game doesn't go well, they're having a whole routine next time they come to the field and you're like, I've never seen you do that before, and now they're not in a comfort place. But also, how long do you stick with a routine before you're like, all right, this isn't really helping me either. I need to make some adjustments. So where's that balance at?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I would try to find out what we're solving for. So once we figure out what we're solving for, then we can simplify it and have that conversation of why we're doing it, right? And so we're just not going to do things to do things. And so if we feel like this routine isn't working, we can't just completely abandon everything and start over unless that's what needs to happen. But it's going to, like I said earlier, it's the constant conversation and feedback loops that we're going to have, that we're making small adjustments throughout the entire year or season or however we're doing it, to where we can kind of streamline a little bit easier, because we don't want to just be Kool-Aid man just knocking down every dang wall and then turn back around and build it all
Yeah.
over again. So
Are there any staples that you think, should live in everybody's routine? Anything that you're just
yeah,
like across every player who plays, like this needs to be in your routine somewhere, somehow?
man, breathing, man. Take a breath, right? It's You're not gonna die. Air's free.
Yeah.
So, take a breath and use it.
It's so funny. I started getting one of the kids that I work with. He's a little bit tighter, and I started to have him do a little bit mobility work. And one of the things that I like to have my athletes do is yoga, because it does focus on breathing. And I was like, "So how's the yoga?" He's like, "Dude, it's a lot of breathing." And I'm like, "Exactly, like exactly, man. Like that's the one thing that you can control. Like you can't expect yourself to be in a big time situation on the mound or in the box when the state championship's on the line or whatever it may be, and like all of a sudden know how to like turn your thoughts off and focus into breathing. I think yoga is one of those things where its whole purpose is to get loose, maybe get some different stretching in, but it's really about connecting your body and your mind and trying to be in one place at one time and disregard all the thoughts that are out there and just saying like, hey, I'm gonna be super intentional with this. This is my only focus right here, right now. The rest of the world ceases to exist. I'm focused on me. And I think when you can master that over time, playing in big time situations becomes a lot easier. Something that I personally, as a baseball player, wish I would have focused on a little bit more. Definitely did not know how to like be in the moment, and I think that's
Yeah.
probably where a lot of baseball players go wrong, because again, this game gets very pressurized, in a hurry. You start pitching in big time games, start pitching in big time situations, and it becomes less about skill work and more about mental work of being present in the moment and doing what you're capable of doing. So yeah, no, that's great stuff. When it comes to development, you've probably tried everything under the sun, or at least taken a peek at development in that regard. What are some things that you used to believe in that now maybe you're just like, dude, I don't know. Is there anything that you tried that you were just like, man, I thought this was the right way, but now looking back, like I don't really know if that was the right way there.
Dude, I would never say that I was like stuck on that I thought this was the right way, and then I'm like, dang, I was doing it wrong. I think that anywhere you go, you're like, man, I probably could have done that better. I would probably say that that would be the word, but I would always say I've always been interested, and I think we continue to be, what are we solving for the player, right? And never believed there was one right way, which has kind of probably led me into like, I've had passion in what we were doing, and we dove into what we were doing. But I was trying to make that as good as possible or as great as possible. But the key to identify for everything we were doing was just what we were solving for. Right? It was always a lifelong learner, still always be a lifelong learner. So I wouldn't say that I was ever like, dang, I was dumb. There's some things that I've done where I was like, I would do that differently
Yeah,
now as I've grown, right? And so I would just continue to be a passion about being uncommon, which I think is better off than view. I don't ever want to look back and be, man, that was bad. I mean, listen, man, I've played players that I probably shouldn't have, and I've done some things that I probably shouldn't have. But I would never say that it was like that was wrong. I would just say I would have probably done them better.
yeah. How long? Let's take a step back into like we'll just use like weighted balls for example,
Yeah.
as like something, right? A long time ago, people weren't using weighted balls, and all of a sudden, weighted balls came in, and they started to be the thing that pitching coaches turn to, things like that. When it comes to like a new fad of training and development, like how do you address it before implementing it, if you even do implement it, right? How do you go about, what's your step process to say like this is good? Because you don't want to necessarily try it almost like on your kids and use them as like lab rats and be like, all right, we're gonna try this, but maybe that's the only way. Do you do them yourself? Like I don't know.
Dude, sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to in some of those situations, man. I got a 13-year-old kid, man. It's just like I said, we're gonna break a few eggs to make an omelet, right? He might be my test dummy. You got to be creative. and you got to be cutting edge. I'm not going to play it safe at the end of the day, but when you say if there's just new things that come out, I'm going to ask why. I'm going to do my research. I'm going to find that information and the data that supports it, and then we'll start to implement it, and we'll make sure that we're doing it safely. That's getting our guys there. But I wouldn't say that like we're playing it like crazy safe, and you're going, I don't want to do it now. Man, sometimes you have to, man. You find
Yeah.
belief, and you go, I can make this great, and that's what makes you different than a lot of people, and we're not afraid to do it, right? But we're going to do it safely and routinely. But yeah, so I mean, dude, I also have my 13-year-old, and I'm like, hey, big boy,
Yeah.
let's go grab this, and let's we
He's
can
either
blow
going to be
you up real
really
quick.
good or he's going to be really bad.
It's gonna be
New
work.
thing comes out, you're like, we're doing this, man. I want you to take
Have a
this
little fun.
9-ounce ball. I want you to just huck it as far as you can. Oh, it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
see how hard you could throw it.
Yeah. So before we got on this call, I put out yesterday some questions. I'll periodically ask you some of them. But one of the questions that came in was about command training and what you guys are doing over at BYU for command training. I think more so a kid is, in a position right now where he's got good velo, he's got good stuff, but he can't be in the zone consistent enough to be an actual weapon to a coach. And so where does he go and how does he actually, you know, I guess where does he go to get better at command training? How does he work on that on a daily thing? Where does he put that into his routine? And what are some things that you would say you guys are doing that you've seen success on command for?
Well, one I would start with, is he strong enough?
Yeah, I
So
would
so a
say
lot
he's
of the
strong
guys.
enough. This kid is strong enough. Personally, I'll speak on it. He's strong enough.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So if he's strong enough, is he moving well enough? Right?
Yeah.
Is he understanding? Is he moving around? T spine, his hips, his pelvis. Is he able to kind of move correctly? If I told you there was a direct correlation, but how quickly you move down the mountain, how hard you threw, what would you say? Right? And so it's finding, is he moving the right way? And while he's trying to throw the ball hard, because we all should, because velocity's king, is he intentfully locked into what he's doing and how he's doing it, right? And so I think the question is always, I love this question, would be like, how do you fix command, man? I've had this question before. Everybody said, if I asked you right now, like, you can go figure out one thing or understand one thing in the entire world, like, what would it be, right? I don't know. Your answer would be what?
Right
If I
now,
said, yeah, what would it be?
baseball related or just sorry.
Anything in the world, man.
Anything
Like, hey, I
in the
want to figure
world
out
right
how this
now?
works. Like, anything.
Yeah, man, I think I would just say, for me personally, how do you live the most peaceful life possible? That would
Correct,
that
right?
would I'd want to know that.
I've asked this question before, and people are like, man, I want to understand the pyramids. And I would say, I want to understand command.
Yeah,
So
command for
it's
you.
right. It's the hardest thing to teach, but at the end of the day, you can make it better. So when you say guys like them, how do I get better command? Make your stuff nastier. Like, it doesn't, I think that our view is so much that we have to put it in this little box, right? And we're going to continue to do that. And we're going to focus on getting strong enough and working well enough. But at the end of the day, if my stuff's nasty enough and I start getting some chase, how much bigger did my zone get?
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
It's going to get a little bit bigger. Now, whose command's a little bit better? So,
Yeah, but you also have to live in like in order to get those chases. At least from what I've seen from my own experience, going up the levels and trying to throw it better and better. You have to establish the zone first. If you're not able to establish the zone, then you can't really move too far out of the
sure.
zone
But
to
what
get
is your
chases.
zone? But what is your zone? So
I think
that's what
in
I say.
I think getting
You
called strikes there and just establishing that I can throw the ball over the plate, and then it allows guys to know like, oh my god, like he is somewhat accurate. But if I come out zooting balls left and right, bouncing
sure.
sliders in the dirt, that hitter's
Well,
not
yeah.
going to
Now
do.
we're talking about like command that's unusable command, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so
So you're
that
talking
is
about okay.
I'm talking about our misses could be closer in those things. If you're talking about dudes are ripping balls, 3 feet in the left-handed batter's box and a big glove side mix, or obviously, man, we're going to have to go back to ground one and figure out those are big misses. We're not
Okay,
even in the
okay.
realm
You're
of how
talking
hard we
about okay,
throw. We
smaller
got to
miss.
rebuild at that point, right? And so if we're missing balls to the net and the backstop and we have no feel for it, which I've had guys like that before. Listen, man, we've had a guy that is in AAA now that when we got him, he was long and at a sort, and every third pitch would be, 6 feet behind a right-handed hitter's right-handed arm, and we just kind of taught him to move almost like a tornado in a phone booth, a little bit tighter, and all of a sudden command got a little bit better. Our misses got a little bit closer, but then we continued to focus on how do we make it nasty or around those. And all of a sudden, we started getting some chase. Confidence goes up. He's gotten stronger. His movement pattern continued to get there. And those are things. So if you're talking about a young kid that's figuring it out, man, stay strong enough and continue to hammer out what you're doing. But sometimes it's just less is more, being shorter. Tornado in a phone booth kind of analogy is maybe what I'd use for that guy.
Yeah. So when and I'll hold you here for a second. When you're talking about getting more chases, but you're training up north in an indoor facility, or you're just training in general in the off
Yeah.
season, and you're not seeing, those live hitters until, weeks before the season, and you're still trying to grow your confidence, but you're not, in order to grow the confidence, if you're throwing in an indoor facility, you basically have to hit the target in order for them to feel good, right? Because you can't
Yeah.
say like, oh, that's a nasty pitch, but they bounce it over the plate, and as the pitching coach, like you're going to get a swing and a miss on that, but all they see is ball, right? So how do you get them comfortable?
Assuming no data, assuming no data in this conversation, right? No
No, you
track
can have
data,
data.
no
Yeah,
nothing.
we can even throw data in there. Yeah, throw data and just say like, hey, this is a good pitch, but even still, like if they're thinking in their mind, command, 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 and their stuff's nasty, it's like, yeah, I got nasty stuff, but like I'm not in the zone. But you have to tell them that the zone isn't, again, the strike zone. The
Right, but
zone
that's
is
it. As
what the
part of
zone
the
is for the
communication
hitter.
and what we're doing
Yeah,
is what are we solving for, right? And so if I continue to tell you, hey man, you got to hit this spot, and we throw 9 spots out there in the zone for this conversation, and I got to be in the 9, which we do it. We play a game of tic tac toe. We got to get in the 9, and we just continue to compete and make them go at it, and that happens. There's times we bring heart rates up. We're going to make you do those things, but sometimes it's got to be that, hey, it's a little bit bigger, so we're not trying to solve for such a small area that maybe it's a little bit bigger, that we're just looking for a dirtier shape, right? Because we understand if we throw it and it's zone dependent or location dependent with good enough life that's different, or it deviates from the hitter's expectations, probably going to get a swing. And so the data can tell you those things, right? And so those are the things that we're trying to do when we're solving for command. We have command training at our place, right? And we throw different. We do some weird stuff, right? So
yeah. I
we
mean,
throw we throw mini balls.
yeah,
We chuck our weighted balls. I mean, they have a game of like jackpot. We have balls in there. It's all, and they know they're in the 5 ounces. They have to reach in and grab it and grab one, and it's going, and they got to get to a spot. But we're going to continue to challenge them on how we're doing it, right? Whether it works or doesn't work, right? I'm a big believer that like if you just manifest it and you're like program it. So like I'm at BYU and we talk about like velocity, and that's the king of it. Traditionally, guys come in and they chase velocity, and what happens? Guys start throwing harder,
yeah.
right? It's like hitting BP. You guys are chasing nukes and you're trying to hit a bunch of bombs. Guys are going to try to hit a bunch of bombs, right? And so we've chased a lot of command this fall with nasty stuff and how we expand it. And so I think that's also a big thing, is putting the people around people that are they're chasing the right thing. But yeah, hey, you ask about a kid that's 16, 17 years old, man, make sure they're strong enough and be intentional about where they're throwing the baseball.
And so when you're doing your command training, you're going into your jackpot. You said they're all 5 ounces. Are you doing anything like 6 ounce overload or 4 ounce underload, or you're all staying within the 5 ounce range?
When we do a jackpot game, we try to stay in the 5 ounce of different baseballs. We're not trying to reach in there, rip a 5 ounce, and then all of a sudden you got 8 ounce in your hand.
No, I'm talking
There are
about just like a 6 to a 4. Are you in that
Yeah,
range?
we don't really throw fours. Not right now.
No
We're not
underload.
really underloading. No, a lot of overload. We'll chuck a lot of 5s, 6, 7s, and 9s. We'll kind of throw those within it, right? But then we'll also throw the little mini balls. We'll chuck plyo balls. We'll chuck Marv balls. I got a million different. We'll chuck
Yeah,
softballs, and so just different fills, and how we're doing it. Obviously, it's goal and player dependent.
of course, of course. And then when it comes to just like your overall general philosophy on velo development, right? Everybody wants to talk about velo, as they should. We both know that the harder you throw, the longer you get to play the game. However, you have to be smart about it. You have to make sure that it's only a piece and it's not the whole thing. And there's other things that go into being a good pitcher, because 100 miles an hour down the plate still gets ripped the higher you go up. So you have to know how to use it. But you get more. Uh, I would say you get a bigger room for error, more margin for
Yep.
error when you throw harder, right? The ball gets on them quicker, even 100 miles an hour down the plate. Still, also can get a lot of swings and misses. So when you guys are training, what is it that you guys are doing as like a team as far as like general philosophy? Here's what we believe in. Is it long tossing? Is it, throwing weighted balls? Is it all of the above? Player development, our player specific for sure, we get that, but just in general, what are your
Yeah, I think
rules?
that you circle back to velocity. Obviously, man, velocity opens the door, and a high floor lets you stay. So at the end of the day, man, you better have some velocity because the harder that you throw, and when I say that, it doesn't have to be 100. You just got to be firm enough on pitches that best fit your arsenal, right? And so because at the end of the day, velocity, command, all of that matters, but velocity is king, and let's raise our floor first, and then pitch design from there. So when you say what is the identity of BYU or whatever we're doing, it's to throw nasty stuff inside the strike zone. And so we're going to train those days. It's individual base, but they have their throwing program, and these guys know what they're doing every single day. I'm a big believer in being very written out. They have forms. They know their day to day. If you ask one of our guys right now, what do they have going on Friday of next week? They'll tell you, hey, this is what I have. This is how I have to do it. Now, what happens inside of there is going to be, player dependent,
Yeah.
and goal driven. But like, yeah, man, we have long toss. That's part of what we're doing. We have plow balls off the mound. Everybody has something different. We got water bags in our program. There is something for everyone, right? We've got 3D straps that are teaching you how to your pelvis to move a little bit, right? It's kind of like a tether to our brain, right? I'm holding on to it, teaching you a little bit. And so we're trying to throw nasty stuff inside the strike zone. And so velocity and stuff, right? While being healthy. And so how we chase it is going to be individual based.
Gotcha. And so when you take that philosophy of like what y'all are doing, and now you're getting into the recruitment of BYU, and you're bringing kids in here, one of the questions that somebody asked was, what is the first thing that you're looking for in a high school recruit to come to BYU
Is
for a pitcher,
their
as a
upside
pitcher?
and as a pitcher? Yeah, is their upside, and is he strong enough, and does he do something different? Right at the end of the day, we got to find those guys that can do some things that are a little bit different. What's unique about them, right? They have a unique fastball, breaking ball, left-handed,
Yeah.
different arm slots. Are they throwing the right pitches? Right? We signed a kid this fall that I really like. That's a junior college arm that's up to 96 that I watched a few times, and I'm like, man, he kind of gets hit, but I'm pretty sure he's throwing the wrong fastball. And so those are the things I'm looking at going, hey, man, all we have to do is change, right? He's a low three-quarter arm slot guy, but he's trying to throw like a true over-the-top type guy. I'm like, maybe he's throwing the wrong stuff. And so when you say even like these high school kids, man, it's just like arm strength. Do they move well enough? And do they have something unique about them, right? And at the end of the day, do be competitive. Because if you ain't competitive, none of the rest of this stuff matters.
Yeah. Nope. That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. I think a lot of people just need to hear that over and over and over again. I think kids are all constantly just, trying to get the most accurate information when it comes to what do high school or college coaches actually look for. And a lot of people who listen
Yeah.
to this are parents. I mean, a lot of coaches listen to this, but a lot of them are also parents of high school
Mm-hmm.
players who are just trying to do what's best for their kid, and they don't know where to go get information, and they're hearing so many different voices online. And so for you to just say like, this is what it is that we look for, it means the world to somebody out there. That
Right.
way they can take that information and just turn it around and give it to the little Johnny, and just say like, just keep focusing on these
Yeah,
things.
for sure.
Yeah. So pro ball and college, what's something in pro ball that you think gets done better than what college baseball can provide as far as development?
Would you say what is like more on what's different at professional baseball to college, like a two-part or the
No,
same?
like what do you think? What do you think professional baseball can do better when it comes to like not do better as professional, but what do you think they do better than college baseball development? Right. I think right now, from what I understand and what I've had conversations about, is a lot of people. Let's say that you're a high schooler who's getting big time money to go. It almost seems like it's maybe in your best interest to go to college because these facilities at these power fours or these coaches at the power fours are maybe a little bit more developed, and they can help bring you along a little bit faster than maybe going to the minor leagues could. So I'm asking, where do you think MLB or just like minor league baseball kind of outweighs college baseball when it comes to maybe some development stuff? Is it more money for resources on technology?
Yeah.
I feel like power fours have just as much, if not more, than in some of these organizations. So it's crazy.
Yeah, man, I can only speak in terms of what I've done in professional baseball, and obviously I was with the Yankees, and so we
Yeah,
were
they got
very
money. They got bread.
blessed. Yeah, but you know they care about player development there, and they have the right people in the building, and so there's a lot of really good people in the building with the Yankees, and I was very blessed to work there and loved my time with the Yankees. But like I said, professional baseball studies and stays a little bit more on the individual, right? It's the day to day from every department. It's kind of driven in on that one player's development, and it is about creating big leaguers. And through the organization, whether that's with the Yankees or we make you trade bait and we can get somebody else to get a big leaguer back, right? And so it is all about how much can we make you better as a baseball player. The human factor is in there, not as much as college, right? And so I still believe that like the human factor plays a huge part in development with anybody, right? It's because usually the better the human, the more the work ethic, the better the development on the baseball side it becomes, right? Where professional baseball at times, not all the time, it is baseball only, right? Like college does a really good job of developing the person first and then moving over to the baseball side, right? But at the end of the day, I get it on the Yankee side, man. I've been there. Your wins are created different,
Yeah.
and they're not created equally, right? And so the end of the day, your job is to make the best baseball player you possibly could on the pro side. The college side, man, you better create the person, right? Because graduating and doing those things matters. Now, I think the Yankees, we did a pretty good job of creating the human being as well as development piece. But when you say one was better, man, professional baseball took a lot more time to make sure that skill, whatever through skill acquisition, whatever it was developed. In college baseball, it's just drawn out a long time because you may have them for 4 years. So you have that time to go step by step. But professional baseball, man, you may have them for 3 months. You may have them for a week. And so you're just trying to get that objective and transfer them to the next guy as quick as possible. So if you said one dude's better than the other, I would say professional baseball could do a little bit better job of setting the standard of the human element, and the college baseball can probably take a little bit more time to make sure that we're developing the baseball piece.
Interesting take. I like that. I like that there. Going back to you as a head coach, you've again been two-time national champion, correct? As a
Correct.
coach? Yep.
Yeah.
But you've been to the College World Series 5?
No, I think 8.
8 with NAI, so 8.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think 8.
8.
Wait, maybe 9.
That's a good problem to have if you don't know how many times you've been.
It might be 9 times actually. I don't know. I think so.
All right, 9. So out of the 9 teams that you've taken and the 2 that have won, what's the separator between the 2 that win and the 7 that don't? Is it pure luck? Is it that team just had something different? Is it you just ran into the wrong team at the wrong time? Like, in your opinion, how does a national championship team differ from a team who makes it to the College World Series?
It's 1,000% about playing right at the right time, right? But that has a lot to do with me failing 7 times or the 6 times or other times we didn't win a national title. Would be like I said, man, our floor was really high. We had the players in the building, and our job was to continue to communicate, tell those stories, and do those things to where we can make those guys compete at a high level at the right time. Sometimes we just didn't play well on that day and we lost a game, right? And so the 2 times that we won it, man, those groups were just different. Like, man, we set the practice plan. It was high intent. It was driven. We had clocks everywhere. We were really intentional about what we did. Those things ran themselves. I mean, it was unbelievable, man. I was intent. We were rolling around. We were loud. We were having a lot of fun. But we had leaders in there that if I didn't say anything, we're fixing it. That being said, man, I had a team one year that was not even close to the most talented team in the country at that level. And when I say not even close, it was us and then everyone else.
Yeah.
And that team did exactly what I said, and we finished 3rd. We just didn't play well on 2 days. And so sometimes it's just about playing well on the right day and catching some breaks. But there's sometimes that we just weren't prepared enough, and we got to do a better job. And I had to do a better job of preparing those teams. But yeah, man, like championships are hard to come by, man. You can be super talented, but it's
0.
Right. But the standard and
for a long time, and I have 0 championships. I know.
it's the standard and the expectation that you set, man. I think it always starts with any championship team. If you say, how do you build it, man? Make sure your floor is high enough. And then once the floor is high enough, make sure you set the standard and you communicate well and you really drive that standard home to be really good at what you do and be intentional about winning. And winners win at the end of the day.
Winners win, losers asked to play again. When it comes to practice plans, a lot of coaches also listen to this, right? A lot of college coaches listen to this, and then also a lot of high school coaches listen to this. What's some, suggestions, or just what do you guys do to make sure that your practices are running as smooth as possible and as high intent as possible? I think everybody wants high intent, smoothly run practices, but that's such an easy thing to say and hard to accomplish over the course of an entire year, let alone just like the finite amount of time you get in a season. So how do you go about your practice plans and keeping them kind of engaging and high intent?
Be intentful and communicate about what you're trying to accomplish. Trim the fat, right? And so that's something I prided myself on was I feel like we ran the best practices in the country. I did. I mean, that was bottom line is we had clocks in each dugout, how fast we moved. The guys knew what they were doing in every waking moment of the day, got sent out. They understood the plan. We didn't overcomplicate it, but it was high intent. It was pressure. It was driven. There was constraints everywhere. We had feedback rolling, but it was just like, hey man, like find out in this segment what matters and just attack it. Don't draw it out. Attack it. Talk less. Put it in a situation in front of them. Let them run the drill and move on. Sometimes we got to shut up as coaches and set the plan and set the example and roll out. And each day have your plan driven out and how can these practices run themselves where we're getting the most impactful work that is the most game-like that we possibly can? And so I think that those are the things, man. Are you running drills to just run a drill because it made you feel good? Or are you running a drill because it will actually translate to the game, right? Keep the main thing the main thing. Would be figure out what you're doing. You'll be surprised how much you could cut out of your day-to-day of just wasted time. Don't waste the time, man. Those kids don't want to be there forever.
Yeah. This question is going to be very team driven. It's just one of the questions that I have on top of my head. But when it comes to practice plans, what is something you think coaches probably aren't spending enough time on, right? There's so many different elements of the game. And when it comes to practices, we're doing a lot of hitting, we're doing a lot of defense, maybe base running gets left out, maybe, pop-up communication, maybe first and thirds, whatever it may be. But what do you think, maybe some coaches could spend a little bit more time on? And again, it's going to differ from team to team. I get that, but just in a general sense, what do you think from all the games that you've seen? You've scouted a ton of different games. You've been to a bunch of different games. Where do you see some holes within just the larger scale of baseball?
Dude, I think that's, like I said, I think you kind of answered that question a little bit for me too at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like I said, I can only, what I've been a part of or what I've seen, right? Like, what could you focus more on? What could they focus more on? Somebody, it might be base running. Do they need to do a better job at creating chaos on the base path? Some guys, do they need to be better at just the fundamentals of where to be on defense? Some guys, it could just be the approach at the plate, right? I think a lot of the times we caught ourselves probably being more prepared than other teams, but just simply scouting reports, diving in, having those conversations, having a leg up, man. We get a lot of questions about how the heck did you guys always hit every ball out of the yard at a 1-1 count? Well, because we dug into every pitch that you threw in a 1-1 count when we didn't have true media and I was in the NAI and we watched a ton of video and we realized that 75% of the time you were throwing a banger, but you don't throw it for a strike. So we were sitting on it and we knew if other than that you couldn't throw it, we were waiting on a heater and we hit it out of the yard. And so I think it was just some teams it was being prepared on the scouting report side, doing as much work as we possibly could behind the scenes. But, I don't know if I would say that it's what each program does. I don't know, man. I can only speak for what we did.
I got you. All right, so here's some questions that came in from. It seems like you've got a good, reputation with some of your players. Your players definitely reached out and wanted to know some questions.
But they talked a lot of crap too.
So I guess this one isn't a player, so we'll go with this one first. One person wanted to know, what is your pitch to recruits to come play at BYU? What are you telling these guys? What does BYU give them maybe outside of baseball that maybe they can't find anywhere else?
Have you been there?
I've been to Utah. I've not been to the BYU field. I see it on Instagram. It looks crazy. It looks very nice. Look at the mountains in the background. It looks beautiful. Probably not getting that too many places.
No, man, it's beautiful. And you've got the right people. in the athletic department, from our athletic director, from our president to our head coach down, right? And so the pitch would be, man, like we're going to take care of you when you're there, right? And so we're not a big about, paying this crazy amount of money to get you, but like when you're there, we're going to probably take better care of you than most players in the country. But we're also going to, my job here is I'm trying to get you prepared to the highest level to move you into professional baseball, right? You graduate along the way, those things matter. But like when I say that, I think a lot of people could say the same thing. My goal is to not let you go sit in rookie ball or low A. My job is to have you prepared enough that you understand enough, you're mentally ready enough that it's a quick streamline for you to get you into double A, and we can try to get you into the big leagues as fast as possibly can. I understand that's hard, but like I think that's something we can do a little bit different than a lot of people. There's other programs that do it great too. But that's a pitch for us, man, would be like at the end of the day, man, like you're going to understand what it's like in professional baseball, and you can do that here for a couple years. And so when you get there, you don't have to waste your time on that. You understand it. Bam, you're in double A, right? So now we can excel your path through professional baseball. But also, man, we're going to love on you. It's a family. It's the most family-oriented environment that I've ever been a part of. And that they're fully in, man. They're all in. The athletic department is all in. You see what our basketball team and our football team has done, and
Yeah.
what Brian Santiago, our athletic director, from Dave, our athletic director, to our president, man, they're fully invested on being successful, and it's a great place to be.
Yeah, definitely, man. Y'all definitely made some noise. I feel like in the past decade, BYU has just kind of been
Yeah,
coming up and up and up, and y'all are continuing to be more and more of a powerhouse. I'm excited to see what y'all do for the baseball season. This one right here. What is your dog's name? For some reason, somebody needs to know that. You got a dog? I don't even know
Fielder.
if you have a dog.
I do, a golden doodle, and he's chilling at my feet right now.
Yeah,
He's a golden doodle. His name is Fielder, like a center fielder or an infielder.
gotcha. Or Prince.
Yeah, or Prince. Yeah, a lot
There
of
you
people
go.
ask that question. Yeah, yeah, yep, that's Fielder.
Next question right here. What's the whirly bird? I got no idea what that even means. I don't know what that means.
So the Whirly is actually a sweeper, a split grip. So it was early, dude. So sweepers really kind of blew up on the scene a couple years. No. Like straight, I don't have a baseball in front of me, but like split grip, two seamer. You're throwing a slider with the breaking ball fill. Yep. So I hooked those seams, and so dude, back like I think it started calling a sweeper. You started seeing hit the seam 3-4 years ago, dude. So probably got that from one of our players back in like 2018. We called it the Whirly. So we were teaching that, dude, years ago, and so
That trademark.
we called it. Well, dude, that actually stole that from one of my best friends.
Yeah, but
I
if
was
you
at his wedding
trademark
'cause
it, it's yours. And then you
I
can just
can't
say
take
that
it from him, man.
that guy stole it.
He's yeah. So one of my best friends just became the director of pitching for the Red Sox, and so he kind of had a little bit of that whirly action. So we had that in our program years ago. We called it the whirly a long time ago. Then it turned into a sweeper, but we were teaching that, dude, what are we at 25? Dude, I was teaching that pitch in like 2000 and like 17, 18.
Love it. Love it. And that's
Yeah.
why you got the national championships, brother. You're ahead of the game.
And we have really good players, man.
And good players. You got to have those, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your favorite media personality of all time? There's only one right answer.
There's only one right answer? Golly, dude, I don't know if there is one right answer. Who do I love? Dude, I don't know. I enjoy Charles Barkley. What else we got? What's the answer?
I guess the answer, because I had to ask him, I was like, "Is this you?" This is from Robbie Gutierrez. I guess he didn't. You
It's
didn't.
Rob Gutierrez, any eyeball,
Yeah,
baby. It's
yeah,
only Rob. Yeah.
yeah. He's pissed that you said Charles Barkley at this point.
No,
Now
tell him
you,
that.
you
Fuck
can't go
that.
back. There was only one right answer, and you didn't get it right. I had to
It's
ask him. I was
Rob.
like, "What is the answer?" So that I know if he's lying or
It,
not.
it's Rob, dude, for sure.
You got it wrong. So, Rob, appreciate you. Appreciate you there. Other question, real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. And we're not going to get to all the questions, but NIL, not NIL, sorry, transfer portal. A lot of people are always concerned about what's going on with the transfer portal. How do you guys use it? What do you guys look for? Are you guys using the transfer portal? It's all transfer portal driven to high school parents and what it does to their young athletes, and can they even go D1 these days, or do they have to go JUCO? That's basically what they want to know. Is how would you describe the transfer portal and how are you guys using it?
Chaotic, but it is what it is, man. Find a way to make it work. We probably don't use it as much as a lot of other programs, right? We are definitely more on the high school side, and we juked it up a little bit this fall, but like, we're not in there as much. So I think that We'll use it if we feel like there's a hole that needs to be filled or the right player that can help us win at a high level. We'll use it. But at the end of the day, if we just want to find people that fit the BYU mold and the expectation and the mission of what we're trying to do.
Nice, man. Nice. So, to kind of end things here, what's some advice that you would give maybe, a high schooler out there and a high school parent out there trying to, get a college scholarship or continue their baseball career beyond high school? How do you approach that, and what are your words of wisdom?
Be uncommon, my man. Just be different. Don't try to be what everybody else is. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and just work at it. Continue to make yourself better every single day, but don't follow the masses. Continue to be who you are and be different and compete.
Coach, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for the time, and as always, everybody, make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.